Using UK-French missiles, did Ukraine just attack its own land, injuring its own people? Zelensky launches a fresh attack on Donetsk using Storm Shadow and SCALP missiles. Many civilians, including children, were reportedly injured in the Ukrainian military strike, Russia says. Did Ukraine's military attack civilians in its own territory after Zelensky's latest military push on Donetsk?
Our positions in the Donetsk region will be strengthened thanks to two revamped groupings. Their commanders will be Hero of Ukraine Denis Prokopenko and Hero of Ukraine Andriy Bautsky.
Zelensky ready to sacrifice his own people as the Russia-Ukraine war stretches on? Ukraine allegedly launched a missile strike on the Russian-occupied city of Donetsk on August 26, with Moscow blaming Kyiv for the attack. The strikes reportedly damaged residential buildings and civilian infrastructure across Donetsk, according to regional head Denis Pushilin. Footage emerging from Donetsk showed damage near the Druzhba Sports Center, including a building that reportedly partially collapsed after the strikes. Pushilin claimed that Anglo-French Storm Shadow and SCALP missiles were used in the attacks across the city, escalating the focus on Western-supplied weapons. Denis Pushilin said, and I quote, "The strikes targeted several locations in the east of Donetsk, with most of the casualties reported near the Donetsk City Mall. The Western-supplied munitions used included the Anglo-French Storm Shadow SCALP missiles. At least 8 civilians, including 2 minors, were injured in the strikes near the mall, while another man was wounded by the detonation of an unexploded ordnance piece at another location. 2 other civilians were wounded in the Ukrainian attacks elsewhere in the DPR. A total of 8 residential buildings, 11 civilian infrastructure sites, and multiple cars were damaged in the attacks across the city and beyond." Unquote. Russian investigators have launched a probe into the strikes and begun collecting evidence from the affected sites to determine the scale and circumstances of the attack.
Officers from the Russian Investigative Committee are currently inspecting and documenting the aftermath of a large-scale armed attack on residential neighborhoods in the central districts of Donetsk. During the inspection, it was established that numerous attacks had caused damage and destruction to civilian infrastructure, apartment blocks, and cars located near the epicenter of the explosion. Fragments, believed to be from large-caliber ammunition of foreign manufacture, have been found at the scene. All fragments and shrapnel will be collected and sent for analysis to determine the specific type and caliber of the ammunition. Details regarding the damage and casualties are being clarified.
The allegations came as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky named prominent commanders to reinforce the Donetsk region on August 26, signaling Kyiv's continued focus on the battlefield.
Our positions in the Donetsk region will be strengthened thanks to two revamped groupings. Their commanders will be Hero of Ukraine Denis Prokopenko and Hero of Ukraine Andriy Bautsky. Today I thanked our assault forces for their results. This is one of the operations that has already become historic, proving that Ukrainians can achieve their goals and inflict substantial losses on the Russians. The Oleksandrivsky counteroffensive. Every step that pushes Russian forces back brings greater security for our people and greater diplomatic opportunities for Ukraine.
Earlier, a Ukrainian drone reportedly struck an intercity passenger bus in neighboring Luhansk, adding to growing concerns over attacks on civilian targets. Local Governor Leonid Paseknik said at least 9 civilians were killed in the strike, while another 5 people were reportedly injured in the attack. The incident came as Kyiv continues expanding its long-range strike campaign against Russian-held areas, bringing more distant targets into the crosshairs. The $10 million machines are struggling against cheap drones dominating the battlefield, changing how Kyiv can safely deploy its heavy armor. Ukraine began receiving Leopard and other Western tanks in 2023 after repeatedly begging European backers to provide the advanced battlefield equipment. German-made Leopard tanks are now hidden beneath camouflage nets deep behind the front line, kept away from the most dangerous combat zones. Kyiv mostly uses its tanks for training and maintenance, while others remain in reserve, waiting for orders to return to action. Other tanks were reportedly damaged while towing disabled vehicles away from the front line, exposing the dangers crews face even during recovery operations. Ukrainian crews say the armor can still operate effectively, but only under far more restrictive battlefield conditions than before. Tanks venture out during bad weather, when strong winds, rain, and poor visibility can reduce the number of drones operating overhead. Russia and Ukraine have reduced heavy armor assaults as drones increasingly dominate the battlefield and reshape frontline tactics. But Russian forces had already begun using anti-drone cages to protect their own tanks from attacks by increasingly prevalent unmanned systems. Ukraine also added protective cages and additional armor to its tanks, but questions remain over how relevant these adaptations are against modern drone threats. Instead, Ukraine is now retraining parts of its tank units to operate air and ground drones, reflecting a major shift in battlefield priorities. A Ukrainian commander said around half of his battalion has been retrained as drone operators, highlighting the scale of this transformation. Ukrainian commanders are now searching for ways to give their heavy armor a new lease on life as drones reshape modern warfare. UK and Ukraine signed a landmark defense agreement on August 24 to develop new artificial intelligence technologies using battlefield data gathered during the war. The deal gives Britain access to Ukraine's Avengers Labs and its vast collection of real-world battlefield imagery and sensor data. UK universities and defense companies will reportedly become the first non-Ukrainian users of the Avengers Labs platform. Avengers Labs has collected around 5 million battlefield frames from cameras, infrared sensors, and other surveillance systems across Ukraine. The dataset includes imagery of tanks, artillery, air defense systems, infantry, and aerial targets captured during combat operations. Ukraine has already used the data to train AI systems capable of identifying military targets automatically and in near real time. Ukraine's defense ministry said the trained AI system could detect around 70% of enemy targets in battlefield imagery. Britain and Ukraine had already begun pilot projects using the battlefield dataset to develop new AI-powered military technologies. One UK trial reportedly used Ukrainian battlefield data to transform fiber optic cables into sensors capable of supporting AI-based detection. The agreement will combine Ukraine's combat-derived data with Britain's artificial intelligence expertise to develop future battlefield technologies. The deal comes as President Volodymyr Zelensky continues pressing Western allies for greater military support against Russia.
In short, Ukraine was supported militarily today, with packages as well as energy packages. Thank you, Alex, for the ADMs and all our friends for funding some things. Thank you for funding some things. Thanks for the additional funds for drones. What were we talking about? Support for Ukraine will continue. Air defense is a priority. We are moving in two directions. We are searching for and purchasing PAC-3 through Pearl and other formats, and we are all working on accelerating the FAI project. We are grateful to Britain. This was a first visit, and we thank the Prime Minister for being with us. We also thank Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz. He was also online, wrapping up our meeting. We will all work to defend Ukraine before winter. It is a challenge in terms of energy. Europe is preparing a new credit tranche.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.